Hi, Generation Eve. I am so excited because today I have my husband Mark here with me. It is our 32nd wedding anniversary, and so we wanted to share with you 5 keys to a lasting marriage. So I'm going to throw it to Mark and let him start with key number 1.
Sure. Yeah. Key number 1 is to make it about the other person. You know, Ephesians 5:23 says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." And I think that has really been the number 1 key, in my opinion, to having a successful marriage for 32 years, is to really not make it about yourself. Always make it about your spouse and make sure that their needs are considered more important than yours.
And number 2 is to pray. Pray for each other every day. I am Mark's greatest prayer warrior and he is mine. And then we also pray together. We pray for everything, our financial provision, our children, our calling, people that we're praying for situations. So it's always been part of our marriage to pray for one another and then pray together.
I think number 3 is to know your spouse's love language. Gary Chapman wrote a book years ago called The 5 Love Languages, and I would really encourage you to read that book because typically your spouse's love language is different than yours. That is, the way you receive love is typically the way you give love to your spouse, and oftentimes it's different than the way her love language or his love language is different than yours. But if you know their love language, then you can do things to enhance your marriage that really mean something to them. For example, Julia's love language is acts of service. Acts of service to me is not important, but for her, I show love to her when I do things for her. So that's really important to know your wife's or your husband's love language.
And the 4th one is to have a date night. So whether you're going through the busyness of raising children or you're an empty nester, it's really important to have a night in your week that's dedicated to one another. And for those of you that have little children and maybe you can't afford to go out with a babysitter, Mark and I used to put the kids to bed and then watch a movie and have some popcorn together. So you can be really creative in ways that you can do this, but the important thing is that you're being intentional to set aside time to really invest in one another in your marriage.
You know, I think the 5th one is be slow to anger and quick to forgive. So many times over the years, I think because spouses, we know each other better than we know anybody else. We tend to be more critical. We tend to argue more. We tend to talk about things that aren't working. And I think over the years, we have learned to let it go, you know, to not make a big deal out of things that aren't a big deal. I know so many times you talked about date night. So many times on date night, we'll start down a road or about having a conversation about something that I know is not going to end well, something that we don't agree on. I'd say, you know what? I don't want to spend tonight arguing about this or getting upset about that. So many times we just let it go. And I think the longer you're married, the more you learn to treasure what is really important, which is this, which is relationship, which is time together, and really to let go of things that aren't important. You know, so many couples argue over finances, argue over family and relationships and things like that I'm not saying aren't important, but I just think it's important to realize that your relationship with your spouse is the most important thing. And so you have to be quick to forgive them on things that they have hurt you on and slow to anger about things that you're not in agreement with. So I think that's it for me.
That's it. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, and we will be with you again next Wednesday. We'll have a post from Generation Eve, so be looking for it on Facebook or in your email. And if you haven't subscribed yet to Generation Eve, please do so. All you have to do is go to our Generation Eve website, and there's a place where you can subscribe, and then you can get these vlogs and blogs right in your email, and we'd love to have you as part of the Generation Eve family. All right, thanks, babe.
Thanks.